Sean Combs, better known as P. Diddy, is no stranger to the spotlight. But lately, the lights feel harsher, less glamorous. And instead of a red carpet, he's facing the cold formality of a federal courtroom. At 55, Diddy finds himself in the middle of a legal firestorm, accused of crimes that go far beyond celebrity gossip. The charges? Racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation for the purpose of prostitution. Heavy words, dark implications, and a potential collapse of everything he's built over 3 decades. He's pleaded not guilty, denied everything, and he's shown up to court suited up, flanked by top-tier lawyers, projecting confidence. But beneath the surface, this isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a trial that could redefine how far influence, fame, and power can protect someone when the evidence starts stacking up. The courtroom is packed. Reporters are watching every move. But no one expected this move and the reaction it would cause. And that moment arrived faster than anyone imagined. It happened during what was supposed to be a standard cross-examination. Bryana Bongolan, a former graphic designer for Diddy and close friend of his ex, Cassie Ventura, was on the stand. Her testimony was already emotional, layered with claims and context that the jury was clearly paying close attention to. And that's when it happened. Diddy turned, locked eyes with the jurors, and began nodding, slowly at first, then more intensely. Not just listening, not just reacting, sending a message. To some, it may have looked harmless, even subtle. But to the judge, it was a line being crossed. Because in a courtroom, where every expression is scrutinized and influence is everything, even the slightest gesture can carry weight. And in this moment, those nods weren't just noticed. They were called out. Because in federal court, there are unspoken rules. You don't try to speak to the jury with your body. You don't try to steer their emotions. And if you do, you better be ready for what comes next. What came next was instant and brutal. Judge Arun Subramanian didn't hesitate. His voice cut through the courtroom like a blade. That is absolutely unacceptable. He turned to Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, and made it crystal clear. The behavior had crossed a line. This can't continue, or I will give a limiting instruction you won't like, or other measures, including barring your client from the courtroom. Do you understand? That last sentence landed like a threat, and it was. A warning not just to Diddy, but to the entire defense team. One more move like that and he could be kicked out of his own trial. Agnifilo responded quickly, assuring the judge it wouldn't happen again. No excuses. No pushing back. Just damage control. Because in that moment, even the best legal strategy couldn't protect against what just happened. A courtroom scolding, delivered in front of the press, the jury, and the entire legal team. And make no mistake, the jury saw it all. The judge continued, driving the point home again. I was very clear this morning that there were to be no facial expressions, other attempts to have any interaction with the jury whatsoever. Any influence on the jury whatsoever. He wasn't just reinforcing the rules. He was reminding the court who was in charge, and making sure Diddy understood that fame doesn't grant immunity from protocol. The unspoken message was clear. This isn't your arena. This is mine. And while Diddy may be used to commanding attention here, he was on thin ice. One misstep away from being removed entirely. But why did it matter so much? Why was a simple nod such a big deal? That answer lies in how juries work, and how subtle influence can shake a verdict. At first glance, it might seem harmless. A nod, a glance, maybe even a silent thank you after a favorable comment. But in the world of courtroom psychology, it's a red flag. Jurors are human. They're watching every detail, not just what's said from the witness stand, but how defendants behave. Their posture, their tone, their body language. And in a trial with stakes this high, perception is everything. When Diddy locked eyes with members of the jury and started nodding, it wasn't just a reaction. It could have been interpreted as a message. An attempt to sway, to suggest agreement, or even gratitude. And that's exactly what Judge Subramanian wanted to shut down. Because once a juror feels like the defendant is trying to get in their head, even subtly, the entire trial risks being compromised. It raises questions about fairness, neutrality, influence. And once the court suspects that a defendant might be trying to silently communicate with a jury, even if unintentionally, that's grounds for serious consequences, including a mistrial, or worse, removal from the courtroom. So when the judge dropped the phrase, limiting instruction you won't like, he wasn't just bluffing. That kind of instruction could tell jurors to disregard a defendant's conduct, or to assume that conduct was improper. And once that seed is planted in a juror's mind, it doesn't go away. Which means that small, sharp nod may have done more harm than any testimony that day. To understand why this particular moment hits so hard, you have to look at who was on the stand, and who she's connected to. Bryana Bongolan isn't just a former employee. She's not just someone who worked on design projects for Combs. She's a close friend of Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex, and the woman whose recent legal battle cracked open the door to everything that's now unfolding. Cassie's explosive lawsuit late last year shocked the industry. It accused Diddy of abuse, control, and years of disturbing behavior behind closed doors. And while the case was quietly settled just 24 hours after it was filed, it opened the floodgates. Suddenly, other voices began to emerge. Stories that had been buried, allegations that had never made headlines, until now. And with those stories came federal scrutiny, the kind that doesn't just vanish. So when Bongolan took the stand, she wasn't just another witness. She was a living link to the woman who kicked this whole thing off. And what she said mattered. Every word, every pause, every moment of tension. It's during her testimony that Diddy made that now infamous move, nodding, watching the jury, reacting in real time. Was it a mistake? A calculated risk? A silent plea? No one knows. But the timing couldn't have been worse, because Bongolan's presence only reminded everyone of what's at the heart of this case. The blurred line between Diddy's public image and his private behavior. And the jury saw it all. Sean Combs has built an empire, a legacy defined by music, fashion, and business savvy. For decades, he's been seen as a powerhouse, a man who shapes culture and controls his narrative. But now, that carefully crafted image is under fire.